afternoon, morning, evening, whatever time it may be for you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the FastPoint monthly tournament for August of 2023. My name is Acronator. I'll be one of your casters for today. I'm joined by, of course, SRK, the man behind the scenes. How you feeling there?
Iffy. Well, actually, originally there was a better bit setup point for the broadcast plan and everything like that, but it broke the last second, because of course it does. So we went for a quick backup stream and everything like that, and yeah. So basically the format for these tournaments are very similar as it was last time around. We have a time attack qualifier, but this time we have a rounds mode where 100 players can play, so a lot of people get a chance to properly, let's just say, get their first rounds experience and everything like that. And then afterwards we'll move on to top 16. Last year it was 4 1v1v1 let's just say cup mode matches, but this time it's going to be 8-player cup mode matches. This is just to keep things a bit more intense between each other and everything like that. So we have a bunch of people registered for this event, so we don't have region split anymore, but instead we have time zones, 2 time zone events per month. And the winner of this tournament will get a small bonus, 25 USD for the winner, but it will also get FastPoint points that will lead to, let's just say, the final tournament or solo tournament of the year from FastPoint side. So there's going to be some invites as well, but mainly the 12 best players from all these monthly tournaments will get the invites for those. So that's how the circuit will work like that. And the way how it will work for today is that we have a small seeding slash qualification where 100 best players, or I don't think we're gonna get 100, but there were more than 100 registered, at least in game. But with at least in-game registration system, we usually expect that there's around like 50 or 60 or something like that probably gonna be showing up. So at least that's what I'm expecting today. Anyway, afterwards they're gonna be split in 4 servers of 25 or max 25. From which top 4 will go to the cup mode matches afterwards. So that's going to be the system that we're going to have early on. We have quite diverse field already. I see, at least from the server that I am on, and I believe Acronator as well is
server
from.
Server 0, right?
Yeah, the server 0. Yeah, it's a pretty diverse. I see also Modzin in the server, who is a player from Maldives. Actually Maldives, not fake flagging or anything like that. So that is pretty dope. I see even Starlight is staying up late, Bilingo as well, Kiro setup. I saw Feed in one of the other servers as well. So quite lovely to see quite diverse field of player sets from many skill levels, and really love to see it. This is going to be the very first event that we have right now, but there's going to be one more tournament next week, which is going to be done basically 1 hour after COTD, or the rerun. That's the second rerun, and that's basically to get more people at that time of day a bit more involved. This more, let's just say, for to make it available more for America's players a bit. But I think it still will be a pretty nice field. There's a full server with South Africa players. It's kind of crazy. I'm just checking out with some of the other servers. Pretty dope to see that.
Yeah, definitely. One name I've noticed in this lobby as well, you can see right now in the number 4 spot of the time attack here is Wardrov. He actually has world record on all 3 of the maps for this map pack, so that's a name that you gotta kind of keep an eye out for. Of course, he's not gonna be driving world record in rounds, probably. I say that and
it's likely that could happen. That could happen, honestly.
The
maps are not that hard. Also, some of the maps are bits adjusted track of the days as well. So the maps themselves are a bit on the simpler end. They're a bit on the techie end this time around, at least for this month's pack. Because for next week it's going to be the same 3 maps as well, and we'll see how it will go. So top 20 are going to be rewarded with FastPoint points that will count towards the FastPoint International at the end of the year. And top 16 are going to make it for the bracket stage or for the cup modes matches, and the winner will get 25 USD as a bonus. Originally it was 10, but shoutouts to Chloe, who contributed 15 USD for this month's each tournament, so there's going to be a small increased bonus there. Also, if for the internet final events, since recently it was opened and everything like that, we're already up to 150 in contributions, which is pretty awesome. So I believe there is a link in the chat as well with the PayPal and me link. So if you want to contribute to the final event, so that's pretty awesome. That's the way how to help increase the prize pool for that.
Yeah, pretty much. And these players got still a little bit over 6 minutes remaining. They got plenty of time. They just got to be in the top 100 or, closer to that. I think it was like, 109, 108 something registrants, but probably not quite so many people showing up. I've seen plenty of times before people sign up, forget that they signed up, and then just kind of not show up.
I mean, especially with the in-game thing, it's very easy to register. Just one button, and it's you're in. It's unlike in for example, Voltor events where it's the registration process. It has so many steps and everything like that. But if we go a bit to details about the format, so right now there's a bit of a seeding / qualification right now happening. It's just one map. So the players just need to register this map. The times that they will set on this specific seeding / qualifier will be used to separate the groups for the next round. So not only it works as like a check-in or whatever, but it can gently determine how easy or hard your rounds server will be. That will be played afterwards, after basically this seeding / qualifier phase.
Yeah, definitely. They still got plenty of time to risk it. Of course, this map that they're playing the time attack on was randomly chosen, so no one knew what SRK probably knew, but no one else knew which map it was going to be for this seeding until we actually got here, myself included. So these players just had to be ready for all three of these maps. Like you said before, these maps are a little bit easier, a little bit more forgiving, which I personally appreciated when I checked out the maps. Even if I'm not participating, I like the idea of actually being able to get a decent time. And in one map in particular, the third map in the pack, Blue Blaze, I'm really interested to see in rounds because that map is very techy and you could full risk a lot of those drifts. I'm looking forward to see that one.
Well, all of the maps difficulty-wise were meant to be more like track of the day-like difficulty. So that was the main. And also, actually, fun fact, I counted the players, and currently we're at 70 players in the event right now. So at least people who are present in the server. So that's at least what I have noticed. So if you want to still join in, it's still possible. If you had at least checked in the events tab at least. If you had missed it, there's going to be next event next Sunday after the second COTD rerun. So for the full FastPoint leaderboard standings, the best month. So basically there's 2 events per month, and best events within the months will be counted towards the standings. So let's say if you do good in one event and to improve your score, or you can't make it, then the other event can be there to save yourself a bit. So that's going to be one of the things how it's going to be used for that.
Already we're seeing some pretty fast times on this leaderboard. You can see top couple low 50s. The world record on this map, by the way, Arethel by Sags and Kooks. World record is by Wardrop, like I said before, 49.972. So they're only within a couple tenths of the world record. Of course, this is time attack. You get the opportunity to risk as hard as you possibly can to get that good seeding. But it's still pretty fun to see that these players are putting up really good times at the very start.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how everything works out. This is not that serious part of the events, just a small check-in. Maybe a small seeding and everything like that, maybe to get a bit of easier server. I see a lot of people, I mean, the time given in this seeding event was quite generous, just so people who want to just quick learn the events have a time to, pick up the map and everything like that. I knew that there were used to be like events in the past where there were, how can I say this? Like especially there was this BDS tournament where they had actually like pretty competitive maps and you have to quick learn them through rounds. And
that sounds great.
Yeah, so, and it was generally difficult and hard to pick up the map, so here is just one map early on you can quick learn, and the rest, 3 will appear during the tournament.
Well, hopefully the players have learned the maps prior to today. As much fun as it would be to quick learn them, they have been available for, 2-3 weeks almost, so they might as well take the opportunity to really grind them out.
Yeah. I mean, nothing too crazy to say. It's just so this is one of the maps that did have. This map precisely was a track of the day in the past.
Really?
But it was a tiny bit corrected in certain places just to fix out the errors that were in the past originally on the map. So that's the way how the map was set up and added in this pool. And most of them, like I said, are very like similar difficulty to track of days and stuff like that. So I think one of the things we can see on the sides is some of the players who we have already. We have Wardrow, Letzer, Kiro, Rossi, Tefts, Brink, and Sinks. Because this is one of the events that can really give the chance for some people to have like show themselves a bit of a spotlight as well. Because Trackmania right now is in this hybrid state between like solo/duo. So usually these events are a very good way to get proper competition experience in Trackmania. And we'll see how maybe some new names will pop up. For example, there was this player Disc who I saw who had some decent times on the maps here and there that I have never heard of. So there's already like people like that who are appearing not really out of nowhere, but definitely showing a bit of a name for themselves here and there.
Yeah, especially I noticed a few players from like you mentioned a player from the Maldives, an actual player from the Maldives. I noticed someone from Japan in the registration before. I don't know if they've shown up, but
I don't think they were from Japan though.
Were they false flagging?
Probably, yeah.
Would be a really weird time for them. It's got to be like middle of the night, give or take. Either way, we got a couple more seconds left for the time attack. It's now over.
And then we're gonna go to the rounds mode. So that's gonna be the played afterwards. So the rounds mode is gonna be played on all 3 maps instead of just one. And from that, basically we'll have to decide on who's gonna be our top 16. So I believe I'll probably see the full amount from the back end. How many people were taking part today? So today we had, well, actually a decent amount of people today. So today we had 65 people who registered a time on the leaderboard. So all of them now are split between 4 different servers. And that's the way how they will do their matches.
All right. So are they automatic?
I'm a bit sorry that I'm just like zoning out. I'm just trying to do some stuff behind the scenes while trying to explain stuff. So it would be nice that actually a bit takes over a bit here and there.
Yeah,
And
sure.
joins one of the servers already would be very, very nice. Well, I'm handling some stuff behind the scenes.
Let's check in. Let's see. I don't know who's in what server. Let's just check in room number 2, I suppose. Get in the spectator for there. And again, because we had less than 100 players, every single player who registered a time is going to get the chance. Let's just make sure we are in the spectator mode. We are. We're all good there. Looks like we do actually have a few familiar names here to meet personally. Bit of a sound bug there, I suppose. Either way, a few familiar names from what I can see. I am a member of AIR, which is American Intermediate Racers, but no bias this time around. This is an unbiased stream, not an AIR POV. So I noticed Rookie, I noticed Dummy, I noticed Cosmos, I think Randomize had also signed up somewhere, I think Havoc had also, but right now we're spectating Wardrop. Again, has a world record on this map as well. This is basic Blue Blaze. This is the map that I'm really interested to see in the mountains, because you can really push this map as far as humanly possible, because it's really just about getting the shortest drift imaginable and getting as much exit speed as possible. Wardrop's world record here is the 36.868 as of like an hour ago, where I last checked the record. So it is possible that someone had updated it since then. See a little bit of chatting going on in the bottom left corner. That's alright. They're just happy they got their names called out. Either way, they're just waiting for the rooms to get set up and whatnot. Seems like we got a pretty good room.
Yeah, basically waiting right now for players to join, and the servers will auto start. So that's the way how it will work. Alright, so who do we have on this server? We have Mollet, Tef, Strippy, Seraph, Karluki, Orkla, Bardrov, Yaka, Dummy, we have Vatikaki and Trident. From South Africa as well, Remus, and I believe it's those are gonna be some of the players. We're still waiting for 3 of them to join in. So the other matches are being played at the same time as this one. So the way how this will work, there are 3 maps played in the event, and in the rounds mode, basically it will go all through 3 maps with 6 rounds each. The 4 best players in each server will move on to the next round. However, the 5th place does not qualify, but they will receive like a small bonus. Then we'll get some the rating points at least within the circuit. So at least in case they don't make it, they at least get a small compensation like that. So
close, but no cigar. But you get something in return, I suppose, at the very least. But of course, they're going to be going for those top 4 spots. Pretty much just still waiting for players to join the lobby. If we had 65, that'd be what, like 18, 19 players per lobby, give or take? Just quick math off the top of my head, don't hold me to that. But so we should be getting close at the very least for this room. Now, are the rooms set to start immediately once all the rooms go, or just like when we get enough players for
basically
this room?
When all players join the server, then it's
okay. So we're just waiting for them to get off their keysters and get in the rooms.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, well, you can only do so much other than yell at them in Discord, I suppose. So actually, I just noticed in the top center it says already 13 out of the 16 players. We do have I think that's also counting SRK and myself in this.
No, it doesn't count.
Oh, it does? Okay, good. So we're almost there. We just need a few players to get loaded in. We'll be good to go. We'll actually get some action on our hands, and I believe we're just starting with the Blue Blaze map to start things off after it goes for real. Personally, I think this is going to end up being my favorite to watch. Like I said before, the player's going to really risk this map. The other ones are a bit more tricky in terms of like getting the right transitions, getting good outside dirt or inside grass turns. This one is just pure, unadulterated drifting and hoping for the best. And who knows? Maybe we'll get some pretty solid times here as well. Pretty much anything like 37 seconds and below is pretty darn fast.
What was the world record on that map, if I recall?
World record on Blue Blaze, Wardrov 36.8. So, figure, the better players in this tournament are going to be able to get within about a second of that. 2 seconds is probably going to be more like average performance. This map is very, very risky if you want it to be, but you can also play it very safe and forfeit like 5 seconds. Looks like we're going to be starting in just a few seconds, folks. You can see countdown is coming up. 2, 1, rounds for real this time. You don't necessarily need to get first place every single time. You should be able to get a decent amount of points, but you do kind of want to get that first place to secure a top 4 spot, because you do want to move on to the next round, or it'll actually be cup mode, but we'll worry about that as we get there. We got a 1-minute warm-up. To answer the question in the in-game chat, no, this is not KO. This is just rounds with points, I believe. I don't know, Tucker will correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but we'll find out the hard way.
Yeah, it's just rounds mode. Yeah, consecutive points. There are points basically for the top. The higher you place, the more points you get. There's a bit of points gaps at the top, so the higher position you get on average, the better points you get. And main thing is if you do not finish, then you're going to be a bit penalized with some points loss. So he's getting consistent finishes in, but the main thing is definitely going to be looked at who's going to be the top 4, basically. Who are the people who will move on to the next round kind of thing. So that's going to be the main thing to look out for. As mentioned before, there's a small warm-up. There's just going to be 6 rounds on each of the maps, so 18 rounds in this phase in total. And top 4 will move on. 5th place will get bonus points as a compensation, and we'll see how it will go.
A little bit of banter in chat, but they don't really have time for that anymore, because now is the real deal. Real thing. We're on board with Dummy right now. Just to add a little bit of extra pressure, I think it was Rookie who asked not to spectate him, so I'll be sure to get him later on. But either way, have a little bit of a slowdown there from Dummy. You can see everyone passing him, and this map is very brutal. If you lose any amount of speed, you got to make sure not to hit the wall. Everyone up the front doing well enough for the time being. You can see just the difference that it makes keeping and maintaining that speed throughout the map. Wardrov with a 37.1. That's really darn close to his own world record. Again, that was 36.8, so really only a couple tenths away. And I would expect Wardrov is going to be one of the players to make it into the next round, but plenty of time to make mistakes, plenty of time to change that, but it's really going to be on everyone else in the lobby to force those mistakes and to just beat them. You just got to be faster, Forehead.
Yep. So as mentioned before, top 4 is going to be the main positions we're going to be looking at. As top 4 will be the ones advancing, everyone else will be eliminated. So you gotta kind of see who are the top 6 players, who are one of the main contenders, as these maps are pretty simple. So it's very easy to keep the consistency going, especially if you have a bit of a preparation done. So right now, I see Mole was doing pretty good, but immediately early mistake from them. Actually, love to see. Nice to see Karluki a bit more at the top, but yeah, Wardrov is gonna take this one. Tef second, Sheriff as well. So the small mistake from Mole definitely drops him some points here and there. That's for sure. And Tefs actually gets some decent points out of this. So definitely being very, let us say, a bit more at the bottom is gonna be definitely a bit more on the punishing end in this competition. So the main thing is just to rack up consistency, be at the top more often, and should be decent positions then going to easily qualify to the next round.
Yeah, and realistically, it seems like the pace for those top 4 spots is going to be around like 37.2, maybe 0.3, depending on who else crashes in these rounds, but it feels pretty consistent that like a low 37 will get you closer to that, just based on what we see right now. We're notably not in the top this round. Granted, he can't win literally everything. You're not Carl Jr. But Mole up in the front for right now. Really solid time. It's actually a new PB in the rounds here. 37.2. Yeah, that seems to be the case in the Wardrov. Flying up into 3rd place from, I think he was like closer to 5th or 6th further back. So yeah, right now pretty consistently up in the top spots there. Who would have thought that the person with all 3 world records in this map pack is doing pretty well?
He's still kind of, yeah, he's first, but it's just a couple of rounds. But he has not been really winning. There's some other people who are very contending. Also, keep in mind, this is just one of the servers. There are 3 more other servers that are being played at the same time. I'm generally curious who will be the 16 players who will move out to the next round, personally. Would be cool to see some new names. People who usually not so competitively oriented. Because a player like Wardrov, for example, was playing in like EU regionals, like Sheriff was playing in EU regionals as well. Mole has been recently improving, a quite young player as well. So this is kind of one of the best places for a lot of like these people to get their proper competition experience with people who are kind of in their same tier, kind of. Because you don't really see like, let's say TMGL, TMCL players here. I believe only TMCL player we have here today was Feeds, and ex-TMCL player was Razi, who I saw, I believe, on one of the servers.
Yeah.
So we have some contenders like that, but most of these other people are who were like, let's just say, like top 16, top 32 EU regional teams, so something like that.
Yeah, have a few bonks on the wall early there, so some people falling further behind. Again, like this map isn't necessarily difficult in that way, but if you really want to risk for as much speed as possible coming out of these drifts, you kind of have to get close to the wall. So that's why they're crashing. Folks at home, you can play these maps too. It's just in the FastPoint club in-game if you have standard or club access. Yeah, and it seems pretty consistent that like 37.1.2 is probably going to win most of these rounds.
And yeah, that's going to be the case. Yeah, Mole is now starting to secure a bit in the top 4 a bit more. Tefs as well, so I'm starting to see the main contenders a bit. Like, there's a bit of a top 4 forming a bit. With Tefs, Wardrov, Mole, and Sheriff, at least on this server. Which seems like that there's a bit of fight for 5th, but this is just one of the maps. Let me check out some of the other servers in the meanwhile, see what is happening on them during the first map. So on other servers, Bilingo, Brinken, Laser, and Sams is fighting at the top. So they have also one of the wildcards players playing as well. So some of the people who are playing in the World Championship wildcard are playing here today, which is pretty cool as well. And we'll just have to see who will be the better player today in this competition.
Yeah, most of those names that you mentioned, I'm not too surprised. You said Sags in particular, they also submitted one of the maps, Arethel, the one that the time attack was played on. So, bit of a mapper advantage, but that usually doesn't tend to work out too well in most cases that I've seen, because especially when these players have chances to actually practice the maps, it seems to even out well enough. We're actually done with Blue Blaze, so we're going over to the final map that we haven't seen thus far. It's Bomer by Vades. World record on this, wouldn't you know it, is by Wardrov. 54.181. Pretty darn fast. Pretty much anything 54 is going to be screaming fast. So, whoa. Oh, okay. My game just crashed. 1 second, folks. Let's get that booted back up. Just take a quick moment.
Well, in the meanwhile, I see one of the other servers. There is Hiro Razi History Sand at the moment in the top 4, who are currently leading after map 1. As mentioned, Lingo was also leading one of the servers. And on one of the others, we have Feed, Letzer, Rampin, and Hill as well at the top. So there are definitely some of... Feed. Letzer was one of the people who was substitute for Schweinheim Racing, if you remember, during one of the... All-Stars Championship events. So that was one of the things that was done as well. And that's kind of one of the main contenders we can see for top 16 afterwards.
Just about back, as you can see. Just loading into the room this time. Again, probably missed a round or so. Actually, I don't know. We'll see. Looks like we just barely got in before warm-up ended. So that's good. Seems like the audio bug is gone, so I can turn that back up a little bit. Okay, just in time for the actual game behave. Maybe. Okay, well, at least if they're saying ... in chat, it's not my computer this time. Okay, there we go. Hey, look at that. Everything's good. Technical difficulties averted.
We're just cursed today, honestly.
Yep.
Because, as mentioned before, originally there was like completely different broadcast system plan and everything like that, so we had to set up a stream in like last 3 minutes because everything on my end just completely died.
Yeah, so actually I'm the one handling the stream. If you couldn't tell, folks, unfortunate. It's not quite
I
as
got
fancy.
everything set up and like properly, and just went down the hill.
Been in that position many times. That's why I hate doing live production, but not in this case because it's nice and simple. So here in this round we got Wardrov up in the front, but pretty much the same old names trailing him.
Except Carlucci.
Yeah, he's a little bit further behind somewhere else. Risky finish, not quite terribly risky, but if you get the wrong line coming into it, you don't have the lineup quite right, you do go flying off and not finish, which is always pretty tragic.
I mean, as mentioned before, this was one of the maps that was previously track of the day in the past. We actually, one of the main things was that was one of the complaints originally that I saw from TMX, and speaking with the mapper, was that on the track of the day version, the risky finish pipe went to the left. So it was adjusted to the right so it fits the line better. So that was one of the improvements a bit, and a bit of scenery changes a bit as well here and there.
Looks like okay, well, someone just died. I'm not sure who, but they hit the checkpoint there, basically in the mud for this round. But Carlucci, a little bit further behind, despite having a pretty strong time attack, pretty strong start to the rounds. And not doing too hot on this map, which I mean, of course, the players are going to have a little bit stronger performance on various maps. But you can see the rest of the pack up in the front, but probably a second ahead.
So there's Yaka, who's at the moment in 3rd place. Yaka used to play for Orkship in Numalops in the past. Even in the time when before Numalops, there was called Venture, which was one of the top teams in Trackmania in like TM2 era. And Yaka was one of the players who played in that roster back then. But yeah, right now it's starting to bit. Yeah, there's a clear top 5 fight. So in this server at least, Steph's currently leading, Wardrobe 2nd, Mola 3rd, Sheriff 4th. Sheriff actually was very, very close on with his team Proximo Victory, actually making the World Championship wildcards. He was very, very close, just 1 point away or something. They were one of the teams, like a Czech team, that was ridiculously close. If they just had played matchmaking a bit or everything, like they could have made the World Championship in Trackmania in like the wildcard stage, but it was ridiculously close. But sadly, they did not make it.
A few other teams come to mind from the NCSA region that if they had just played matchmaking, maybe they could have gotten a bit further. But either way, see, definitely Tef's up there, trying to keep their 1st place spot alive, and they're actually separating themselves a bit from the rest of the pack, even 2nd, 3rd place in terms of the points. Pretty consistently up there, not making a ton of mistakes. Yeah, like you said, we're starting to see that line between like the people who are gonna move on to the next round and possibly get those points for the 5th place spot, and then like everyone else who's making these mistakes. They're not particularly large mistakes either, just seeing like slightly less optimal lines, maybe getting a bit more airtime on the sausage, which is something that's much easier to do than to avoid. Ask me how I know. But seeing like the faster players just get the lines really consistently, really pushing each other and just kind of leaving everyone else in the dust.
Yes, one small comment is the Brinken has created like over a 37-point lead over Lingo on one of the other servers. So Brinken is really stepping up as well. Laser is very close as well, and Sinks is also in top 4 on one of the servers. But yeah, Brinken has created a massive lead on his server right now. So that's definitely something to noteworthy for the next stage. Also on one of the other servers, Letzer is currently leading 226 points in that server. Feed 2nd, Hill, and Rampen. But it's very close between Timitolol and Markelli, also very, very, very close on one of the servers. And the last server that we have, server 4, is that it's Kiro leading, Razi 2nd, Historis 3rd, and Hand 4th. And but they have also very, very kind of set in stone positions right now. But there are some people who are a bit better on one map than the other, and we'll just have to see how it will go. Because usually when people have these maps that they're really, really good on, is that they try to get the most out of it. Usually the way how it happens is that the map you're good at, you just fully crash out for the most of the round. And for people who are a bit more experienced, I kind of see the people who have played more in the tournaments and stuff like that. They're definitely the ones who can keep the consistency more than rest of the players. Even if there are some of these players who can have like one decent round here going here and there. But the ones who are more experienced are the ones that are mainly, just keeping the rounds consistent and stuff like that, which is one of the main reasons why this event exists in the first place, just so there are more people within the TM scene who can, rank up rounds at a decent pace more often. Because, for example, stuff like Kafra Day is more about not being last instead of being more first. So events like this are basically to teach people how it's like to, mainly have a consistent fast pace, which is a skill set that starts to get a bit lost nowadays in Trackmania, I feel like.
Yep, certainly. And Well, you can certainly see the players that are doing better at that thus far, because it feels like it's the same usual suspects that are up in the front every single time. Worth noting as well on this map, Arethel, is that not only does Wardrop have the world record, as we stated before, but he's actually the only person with a 49 time. So if you ever see someone with a 49 on the splits, that's disgustingly fast and might be a world record. You can see like low 50s is pretty common. Everyone else is like 50.1 or whatever for like second place, but not quite the 49.
Yeah, but actually Tefs is the one who's stepping up a bit better. Like Tefs, Mole, Wardrobe, Sheriff, like definitely the key players here, but that was the last round on this map. So yeah, if you have missed events in the past, there's gonna be another one on this exact set of maps. It's gonna be next Sunday, but that's gonna be done at 13 EST, so basically 1 hour after the morning Capital Day in a week. So if you have missed the chance for this one, you can still try yourself out on those events as well, because there's going to be multiple of them coming. The aim is to have at least 2 of them a month, even during World Championship, so people who did not make it to World Championship have something to play and prepare and everything like that. Maybe for next season, maybe make a name for themselves and everything like that, and get themselves more familiar with the competitive scene on top of that. Because I do see a lot of names that I have not heard or seen in the past, if I look more at the bottom or middle of the leaderboards. There are some people who have been playing Pro Tour events a bit here and there. For example, I see on this server alone that we're currently on, I see Dummy, who is one of the people who has actually pushed themselves into wildcard. I see Trident, I see Rookie. But there are some people who I have not heard of, like Trippy, for example. So there are new names, or Votex, or Orkla. So it's pretty cool to see like new names like that, get familiar with competitive scene a bit more here and there as well. Yeah, so this map, precisely, was actually used in the French Regions tournament as well. So this is a map that's also making another appearance. It was a bit adjusted, similar as to the Track of the Day one. So in theory, French players should be better on this one, especially the ones who did play the French Regions tournament, but we'll have to see how it will go on this one. Very similar map as well, mixed style map. Most surfaces except ice is present on this map. And we'll see how it will go.
This one reminded me the most of like a more traditional competitive mixed tech map, as opposed to the other two. We had an immediate respawn there from Rookie and someone else. They're going to be very far behind for this round. Everyone else in the pack seems to be keeping it rather close. Saw Dummy hit the wall there, so he falls much further behind. Quite a lot of opportunities to make a full crash on this map in particular. A lot of transitions, a lot of opportunities to get bad lines that just snowball into a full crash right here in particular. Everyone up front seems to be doing it well enough, which I guess is pretty expected at this point. But then you also have to balance the safety of not crashing with making sure you're actually hitting a nice speed. The ending here is, well, you can take it safe, but you're not going to get an incredible time, as opposed to these players where you can see they make that like really long jump, try and hit the downhill just perfectly. Someone crashed out there because you can clip the tire quite easily if you don't have quite enough speed. So that entire like last turn or two is really just up to like maintaining the speed, getting the right angle, which is a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, and this mistake that Yaka did actually creates a massive skill points gap between him and the top 4. So the top 4 is a bit more running away right now, and Yaka to make to the top 16 kind of really needs to hope that either Seraph or Mole doesn't get some decent rounds in, and Yaka himself needs to get like at least top 1, top 2 going on, and so he can clutch himself into the top 16 afterwards.
Yeah, that is gonna be quite the challenge, though, as these these top 4 players aren't really giving up any ground most of the time. I mean, if there's going to be a major crash, it's going to be on this map, if any of them. But it doesn't. I mean, you can see them right now from his perspective. It doesn't really seem like they want to give up any spots whatsoever. They're not making any major mistakes. Like here, you got
Mole is behind, so.
Oh yeah, they did fall a little bit behind.
Mole is behind, so but Yaka is still around like that 5th, 6th position. There's Rotex and Karluki. But the Sheriff, Wardrow, and Tefs are still in the top 3, so he will get the top 4.
Oh,
maybe not.
Another
He
clip.
did get the top 6, but it's not that big of points as needed. The gap is a bit reduced, but that's with Mole, who is already like 60 points ahead. In theory, it is catch-upable. Yes, but then Mole needs to crash out all of the rounds then. And also seeding does impact on who plays in which one. So for example, 1st and 4th from this server will be playing together next round. So if Seraph potentially avoids Tefs in his semi-final match, if he does manage to overtake Mole, for example. So even if they are qualified, if they do, try to get rid of certain players or get better performance, they can, make their semi-final matches a tiny bit easier, especially because Tefs has been having a very solid consistency throughout these rounds today.
Yeah, definitely. He's been pretty consistently up there. Orkla, you saw, just bonked the little barrier right there. Someone else just went flying. I'm not sure who that was. I couldn't see the name tag before they had to reset. This entire section of the map, from what I've seen studying the world record line from Wardrop, seems to be just like, don't take too much of an outside turn, try and keep it as straight as possible, and then here it's just conserve speed, hit the finish, but not like that. Yaka will still get the 7th place spot. Dummy, notably, up in 6th place, getting a few more points than they have been able to get as of recently. And then you have the last few people making it into the finish. And we are now halfway done with this map.
Server 4, in the meanwhile, is already on its last round. So that's the server with Kiro, Razi, Historis, and Hans. So those most likely will be the players from that match, moving to the semi-finals. We're still waiting for the other servers to wrap up, including server 2, that's currently being on stream. So there's other servers already still being played out right now. So as soon as we're going to be done with all 4 servers, we're going to jump to the 8-player cup mode matches. And I don't know if you saw the Middle East and Africa Championship early on in the day. There were the 6 people cup mode played during their Swiss stage. Well, here there's going to be 8 people cup mode played, but there's going to be a bit higher points limit. So the gaps are a bit bigger, and yeah.
The early ahead Yaka very close to securing a 3rd place spot there, but crashes out. This ending is so treacherous to get fast. Like, you can get it easily, but in order to get the speed, to get the line that Wardrov, Mole, Seraph have been doing consistently, you really need to keep that speed as much as humanly possible. Trippy actually isn't even going to get a chance to finish, unfortunately. It's some points left on the table. You can see right now there's a pretty big gap between the top 4 through number 5, and then even a gap between 5th and 6th in this lobby as well. So Yaka might be relatively safe in getting that 1 FPI point, but it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle with this round and the next round remaining before this lobby's done. Oh, okay. Well, that's a pretty bad crash.
Maybe I would suggest switching to server number 1, because there's a very, very close fight. There's literally a deciding round between Sinks and Sams on who makes the bracket stage. So
server 1. Let's check that out.
Because on this server there's Brinken, who has a pretty noticeable points lead right now. Lingo is at the moment seconds.
Just dropped to third, actually, as the bracket updated.
Yeah, and in the meanwhile, fourth and fifth is between Sams and Sings. So basically, it's a 1v1 between Sams and Sings. Whoever does better between them two moves on to the next round. So,
and this is the last round of this map, so they really want to get that opportunity to move on to the next stage. Sam's not with the best of starts. I can't see if Sings is up in front of them. I don't think so. Name tags are all overlapping, but no. Yep, actually there is Sings. So Sam.
They're both next
right
to each
next
other,
to
actually.
each other. Yep. Sam's just a little bit further behind. Both keeping it clean thus far, but the ending, as we saw in the other room, was rather treacherous. Sam's might have a little bit more speed. Can he maintain it through the drift? This is getting rather close to the wall. Does he have the angle? He doesn't. Sinks, on the other hand, will make it to the finish, so they're going to be the one to claim that fourth place spot in the lobby. Incredibly close fight there for fourth place. Glad we got to see that one round at least. And that should be just about done with all of the rooms, barring any of them that fell much further behind.
Yeah, we can go on a small break, and then we're gonna start the semifinals, which are gonna be played in an 8-people cup mode. From what I saw, there's gonna be some other streams if you want to check out some of the other semifinals, because 2 semis are gonna be played at the same time. And those are gonna be played in cup mode, so 4 people from each of the matches are gonna be moving on. So that's gonna be the format like that. And we'll have to see how things will go there.
Yep, so stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back after this short break. And welcome back, folks. Just had to get the server set up. We are in room number 1. On this, we have, as you can see, the players on the left-hand side. It's going to be a little bit easier to swap between the perspectives now as opposed to going through the spectator. We have, you can see the players on the left-hand side. We're just waiting for one more person. I don't know off the top of my head which one we're waiting for, but they got a little bit of time. So we have Feed, Tefs, Brinken, Kiro, Sinks, Mole, Hand, and then someone else who will we can yell at once they get in. So.
Yeah, so the way how this will work is that there's gonna be the good old-fashioned cup mode use, so the Cap Classic game mode, but with 8 players instead. 4 players will move on to the finals. We're gonna be playing through all 3 maps, and wait, I just realized we perfectly have 2 French players, 2 Czech players, 2 Swedish players, 2 Norwegian players.
Oh wow, yeah, that's funny.
I just noticed. Yeah, so it's also cool to see Feed, who was the TMCL player as well. And as I mentioned, top 4 will move on to the next round. So good old-fashioned finalists, we're playing till 120 points. And we'll see how it will go.
Yep, and worth noting that everyone at this point, including the people who got 5th place in the previous round in their rooms, respectively, will get some FPI points. So at the very least, they get some for their efforts coming this far. But it's really only the top spot, as far as I'm aware, that gets the $25 US dollar prize pool. Barring any donations, which again, you folks can donate to increase the prize pool.
But yeah, I really hope that people who have tried out the rounds mode as well get a decent competition experience as well. And because I saw a bunch of new names as well taking part and trying themselves out and everything like that. It was pretty cool to see that. Also, the other server is pretty stacked. Historis, Rampant, Laser, Belingo, Wadro, Rossi, Sheriff, and Letzer. So, yeah, both servers are pretty competitive. And as mentioned, Top 4 will move on. So, it's going to be played in the good old classic cup modes. And we'll see how it will go. I don't think there's... I believe most people... Yeah, I believe all players who did make it in the top 16 have had competition experience in the past. So I feel like that's one of the main things to note, and hopefully that's one of the main reasons why the rounds mode servers are so much larger, so maybe more people can move on to the next round, basically, or not move on to the next round, but can get a proper competition experience even, despite not making into the previous round, because there's not as many, I would say, tournaments where there's a lot of tournaments that very punish if you're not that experienced and stuff like that. So that was one of the ideas of this, to give as many people as possible like some proper rounds to play in and everything like that. And yeah,
well, like you said, it's not very often, as someone who both casted and tried to participate in the Pan American a couple weekends ago now, it's rather difficult to keep up with even the best players in my own region, which isn't even remotely as large as like Europe, for example. So I can't imagine how hard it is to keep up with like the Europeans when they get involved. So I can imagine quite a few people. I noticed a few people who were rather newer as well from the NCSA region in the time attack and the rounds and whatnot. So it's a valuable experience that you can't really get too often outside of like a very select few events that don't happen too often. But
all right, before we start, I want to do a quick shout out to the people who were just one spot away from making the top 16. So shout outs to Sams from server 1, who was just one spot away from making it. Also shout outs to Yaka, who was 5th in their own group. Timmy Tolol as well from server number 3. And Bestie from Team W, maybe if you've heard that player, who was also 5th in their respective servers. So all of them will get like one compensated FastPoint points for the circuit points. But yeah, this is the main top 16. As you see, there's many people here on the server, so it's going to be the good old-fashioned cup mode. They need to reach the points limit of 120, then they will enter finalists, where they have to win a round to basically put themselves into the final.
So it's not just about being consistent, but you also have to be really fast to get across the finish line first, which for some people that is rather difficult. They can consistently get that second, that third place spot, get a lot of points on the board, but they can't quite close it out in finalists. And well, I tend to doubt many of these players are going to struggle with that, as you said before. There's quite a few of them that have competitive experience here. They're all rather neck and neck, minus Hand, who I think crashed out rather early, but not a ton of mistakes being made, just faster lines. Tefs will take that round with a 54.4. That's a little bit over a quarter second away from the world record, by the way, again by Wardrop, being 54.1. So keep that in mind. These players are driving pretty darn fast.
Yeah, the rounds are going to be very, very close, so people have to know how to adapt and risk a bit. Because it's not like in COTD where you just don't want to be last. Here you actually want to be in the top positions, because that gives the most points. So not just saving is not going to get you that far. So you want to be really, really consistent. And some people are risking too much. It was Hand and Sinks who were eliminated or flew off the map more like it's early on. So the top 6 fights are still up there. Brinken currently leading. Really lovely to see that with Kiro. And Tefs, who was showing a very solid consistency, was one of the winners of the rounds. Rounds round? I guess how you can say it like that. Although Kiro touched. Yeah, he's currently in third in this round, but still is at the top of the leaders, are still one of the contenders. And Riken gets his 10 pointers this time around. And Kiro, yeah, only 2 points. That's an unfortunate mistake, but points are still pretty tight, but there's still a lot of match to be played.
Yeah, and despite a few crashes from Hand in particular, they're not completely out of it quite yet. You know, like a round win will put them right back up in the middle of the leaderboard feed with an early clip. He's going to fall very far down. I think someone else might have had a bit of a worse crash. Yeah, Kiro's much further back. But the top 5 right now in this round, very close. Keeping it neck and neck. Notably Hand, like I said, just needs one good round and they could easily climb their way back out of the mud. Doing well.
Yeah, we
so
gotta
far.
keep in mind that in this server we have a TMCL player, Feeds, who in points right now is third, but in the round he's at the moment 7th. So that's also something to noteworthy. See how these guys stack up against Feed. I believe Feed did quick learn the maps today. Almost actually sniped points there from Brinken a bit. But yeah, Tefs, who had a very solid round showing, gets a 10-pointer. Not the fastest paced, because we did see like 0.3s, 0.4s a bit more often, but still 0.5s was enough to get himself at a round win this time around.
Well, Tefs has a pretty solid and demanding lead in terms of points right now. It would take one round win from someone else to even catch up to him. Brinken being the next closest, but pretty much everyone else is a lot closer. The middle and the bottom of the pack are pretty condensed. I say that, and Tefs is yet again right up towards that first place spot, trading blows with Hill. For the time being, keeping it clean though, very consistently fast. Actually, it looks like quite a few people have survived the early portions of this map. Feed again in the mud, as RK said. Fast learn the map, so there's probably going to be some kinks to iron out. You know what I mean? But Tefs takes the risky jump, will get first place yet again, pushing himself even further away from the rest of the pack. Hill getting a nice 8 points for his efforts. Might even be able to steal away, yeah, most certainly will be able to steal away second place from Brinken, who got second to last in that round. Actually,
yeah, and Tefs actually won 3 out of the 4 rounds already, so that's why he's at 36 points already. That's one of the sketchier round before, but still solid performance overall. Puts him already at the 13 points advantage already compared to everyone else. And in the meanwhile, in the other server, what's happening is that, let's see what's this points right here. So we have Wardrobe leading, Laser seconds, Letzer third, and Belingo fourth, Rozzy fifth. So those are the points looking like that on the other match. Other match is also looking pretty stacked. Whereas Historis and Sheriff are the 2 players at the bottom right now. So I think that already speaks something. How is the other lobby looking like right now?
well, we are now on Arithel. Again, the world record by Wardrob. A 49.9, really anything. 49 is stupid fast. I'm going to be honest with you, because he's the only person who has a 49 as far as I know, unless someone drove it in live rounds, which we wouldn't be able to tell because we're here. But if someone drives it here, that's a different story. We can freak out then. But everyone seems to be...
as mentioned before, this map was previously a track of the day with small adjustment at the end, where on the track of the day version, the pipe was the left one was the risky one, but here it was adjusted to the right one, so the line at the end makes sense. And looks like Feed is a bit stepping up finally, gets himself 10 points, and I believe with that he jumps immediately to 4th already, because of how chaotic the rounds were previously.
Well, I mean, you could see in the leaderboard, everyone besides Tefs in the top 2 are like just a couple of points away from each other. Even Hand, who's in last place right now in terms of points, is really only one good round from jumping up a few positions. As you said, Feed looking a lot better that round. Already still up towards that first place spot. Everyone's within like a tenth of each other right now. This map is definitely less risky than the previous one in terms of all the transitions and whatnot that you have to manage. This one's mostly just like don't get a bad angle into the no steer, which is coming up right now. It's pretty hard to miss the reset though. It's not the worst map to take a little bit of risk on. Brinken looking for an opportunity to get a little bit further up. Will actually steal that first place away from Tefts by less than a tenth of a second. So he's looking to gain a little bit. Unfortunately, he's only going to gain 2 points on Tefts because he also got second place. But hey, slowly and surely, another round win. And if Tefts didn't finish, which is unlikely, then he would be tied.
So we'll see. Actually, who do you think, since we have seen some couple of rounds, who do you think will be the 4 people most likely making out of this semifinal?
Tefts is a no-brainer at this point. I think Brinken's very consistent. Maybe Feed. I know how insanely good and clutch he can be from everything from TMCL and that 4th spot. I would probably say Hill. I can maybe see like Sinks coming back, but they're gonna have to have a really strong showing on the next map.
Personally, I think that Tefts and Brinken have shown pretty good. Mole here and there as well, but his consistency has been pretty bad, honestly. What? Not this time, this round? So pretty solid round, solid top 5 overall. Everyone is pretty close. Tefts this time does get the 10-pointer, so he has been the key player. Yes, Wardrobe was like with the world records and stuff like that, but world records don't really mean much if you can't do a similar pace like that in rounds, and especially consistently. And Tefts has been very consistent on overall. So far from this event today, definitely Tefts has been one of the people to look out for so far.
Definitely.
And in my opinion, probably from this semifinal, looks like the Tefts Feed, maybe Brinken, and either between maybe Kiro would probably go through. So that's what I'm expecting.
Well, Tefts looking to extend that lead even further. It's almost a quarter second ahead. Yeah, literally a quarter second ahead of everyone else. There's just no stopping him right now. He's keeping it clean, and he's keeping it within like a couple tenths. Yeah, that's like what, 3/10 from the world record consistently. Like you just need to drive world record pace every single time to beat him. And when someone's on that hot of a streak, there's not much more you can do except just drive better.
Yeah, in the meanwhile, for example, Feed had a very solid pace in that one round where he did a low 0.1. But the rest of the rounds he was kind of in the middle or had like some mistake and stuff like that. So didn't really round it up completely in the end. So I feel like if Tefts does continue like this, he can potentially get out a finalist in no time.
Possibly, yeah. This map I am going to love watching because, as I've said before, you can just full risk this so hard. Oh, Jesus. Okay, that was a loud thing. Let me turn that down. Some of these tracks have louder volume than others. But this map, it really just comes down to how much exit speed can you get from these drifts. Randomized, this is top 4 coming out of this round. Technically 5th through 8th will get more FBI points, but you really want to move on to the next round. And speaking of that, warm-up's over. Tefts with a pretty demanding lead, almost 20 points on top of Brinken in 2nd place. And even he's separated pretty far from 3rd. Now you can really start to see the players who know how to manage their speed and just bring it as far as humanly possible. Tefts, of course, up there in the lead, but not so far that it's unsalvageable for everyone else. Actually, Feed is up there right up next to him alongside Kiro. I think Tefts actually crashed the wall. Yep, sure enough. So Brinken's going to steal it away. 37.1. How does that stack up to the world record? 36.8 is the world record.
I believe that's like 0.3, yeah.
Yeah, just about. It's scary fast. Again, you just need to drive fast to beat these top players. If you want a chance to make it to the final stage of this tournament, you just gotta drive stupid fast.
I mean, the map is very simplistic, as mentioned, is that, you know, you kind of just want to be as consistent as you can. And as we saw with Tefs in the previous round, one small mistake and he dropped 6 positions immediately.
Yeah, well, that's the risk-reward of this map. If you want a really strong time, you gotta get close to the wall, but if you tap it, the acceleration penalty is just gonna put you straight in the mud. Tefs and Brinken fighting for that first place spot. Tefs gets a little bit of extra speed with another 37.1 in the lobby best you can see in the top left. When they keep it clean, I mean, that's how close these rounds can be, and that's the kind of round I want to see. Tef's only really a couple more rounds. I mean, we are guaranteed to go back to the first map we played, Bomer. I don't think, yeah, it's only 4 rounds per map this time, so Tefs cannot close it out on this map, but he can get a lot closer to finalists, that's for sure.
And we'll have to see how this will go. Hand is a bit struggling, but it's a very, very close top 6 right now, especially top 5. So it all comes down to the last drift. It's going to be a very close round than it is.
Oh, yeah, it's top 5 within 1/10 of each other. 37.1 from Feed, actually.
Top 7, like, only one player was outside of a 0.2, so very solid round for everyone.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. When the rounds are clean, it can be extremely close on this map, because, I mean, realistically, the world record isn't even that far away from the rest of the playing field here. It's just that you really have to fight for every 100 if you want to get out of this map.
One small update from the other match. Wardrobe did a 36-9 in a round, so on the other server in the meanwhile.
That's dangerously
Look
close.
at this round! Look at this round!
Okay. Yeah, I think the players are feeling pretty good about this map. Maybe less so, some of them, about the points, because they're like, man, that was a good time. And they look and they get like 2 points. So, oh well.
There was a draw in the middle on top of that.
Oh,
4 players in between points 0, 12. And a draw in the middle on top of that.
I didn't even notice.
Keep in mind, there is no alphabet, so the last checkpoint counts towards the tiebreaker. So there is no weird shenanigans with alphabets or whatever here, but yeah, very solid pace from everyone. As we saw, it's just very close rounds, especially on the last map, and a lot of the maps are just very, very pacey. You just want to have all the small details be in the correct place, and because a lot of the maps usually we see nowadays in tournaments are more about survival, and not that many maps you get that are properly paced, so I feel like for many people, it's like who take part in these ones who have had competition experience, probably it's a bit of a fresh air in that sense that you just have to have a proper pace-based maps consistently. And we'll see how it will convert to this one. Brinken, who was one of the better players during this match, is having a small mistake, but he has built up a solid points lead. He's more than 18 points ahead of Feed already. And both Swedes are at the moment in the mud. Tefs having a solid performance together with Sinks. And Feed as well is closing in from the bottom. Hill as well, trying to, at the moment, that...
Oh dear. Oh dear. I think that's my internet.
This one, another 0.4 from him.
Oh.
And yeah, the bottom 4 players are a bit mudded in this round.
Okay. We're good. For a second there, the internet just like froze. Everything was going crazy, but I think we're good. We're good. We're good, folks. We're alive still. Just a brief blip. For a quick second there, I saw my OBS bitrate went to 0. I was like, oh no, we're okay. We are alive. The same cannot be said for Brinken, though. Another mistake on this map. He does have a decent lead in front of third place, but not exactly something you want to just give out handily, right? You want to keep that lead. Actually, Tef's in 7th place as well, so both front runners.
Brinken as well, yeah. So both
Yeah.
top 2 at the bottom, so everyone can get to potentially the big points now.
Notably, Feed had a little bit of difficulty the first time we played this map on this stage of the tournament, but he seems to be a lot cleaner on it this time around. He's getting dangerously close to that first place spot, but everyone's trading blows. He does touch a pole, so he's going to lose a lot of speed there. Might not even be able to make the risky jump that you see everyone else do. But Kiro...
Heal!
Oh, did Heal crash the finish? I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
he messed up the end and was completely out.
Unfortunately. Actually, Feed, who was up there towards that first place spot, didn't quite close it out. So Tef's potentially can get finalists this round. Just needs to finish in first. Even then, he's like 22 points away from second place, so it's a little bit of a buffer, but you want to close it out before it gets too dicey. Seems like everyone, including Brinken, is keeping it clean so far. A little bit further behind, but not unsalvageable. As we saw before, the finish is quite treacherous on its own. There's plenty of opportunities to catch back up. Someone hit something. That must have been Hand. Sure enough, it was. But all of the other 7 players in the lobby doing well enough. You can see there's a massive fight for first place right now. Hill keeping it clean, coming into the plastic section, going for a very inside approach, does not clip the corner. Crucially, no one touches the poles quite yet. Seems like everyone's keeping it clean. Hill gets sniped by Feed and Mole within 1/100th of a second. Feed with 54.5. That's just under half a second slower than the world record, to put that into perspective. But that was one hell of a snipe from both of the first and second finishers in that round. I believe this is the last round of this map. Doesn't say, but pretty sure this is the 4th round. Tef's only getting 5 points there, so he does need at least some points to get finalists to move over back into Arethel.
There was actually a crazy thing that happened previous round. Hill was second in the last checkpoints, and since the round was so close with his line, he lost 0.1 and it put him in 5th, so that's just that line difference that cost him 0.1, just completely swapped positions that much.
Well, you can see just this like cluster of cars fighting for that first place spot. They're right on top of each other, and even like 4th and 5th place and 6th place aren't too far behind. Sinks and Hands, not much can be said for their runs. Tef's will crash a pole or the wall or something. Either way, lost a ton of speed. Hill gets a little bit of revenge this time around, gets 2nd place. Kiro getting a much needed 10 points. And the middle of the pack is pretty dicey right now. They're trading blows left and right, and Tef's not finalist.
I mean, we still have a bit of points to collect. But yeah, just 1 round away, so he needs basically a top 6. And in the round that he secures himself a finalist status, while everyone else has to find a bit of points.
Notably,
so let's see how this will go.
Towards the middle of the pack. Of course, Brinken 2nd, Feed 3rd. Kiro not too far behind Feed, whereas Sinks and Mole, who were looking really good earlier on, are falling further down in the points. Hill, a little bit behind Kiro in that 5th place spot, but again, a good round here could potentially bump any one of those folks further up ahead. Brinken gets a little bit of airtime, doesn't get too punished for it, but you can see him slowly losing out on some positions due to the lack of speed. Feed up in that 1st place spot for the time being, but everyone else seems to be going for a very inside grass line. They really want to challenge and get that 10 points. That matters quite a bit for most people in this lobby besides Tef's, who really just needs to finish with enough to get 3 points. Kiro does steal the first place away. I think that was Feed who
Oh,
crashed
feeds.
out.
Yeah, touched.
Oh, Mole, no.
Well.
No. Unfortunate hand, actually getting a crucial 8 points as well. But Kiro kept it clean throughout. 50.2. That's pretty darn fast, if you ask me. Faster than I could do, for sure. But that's not a very high bar to hit. So it was fast in general. Fast enough to win a round against this. And Tefts does finally get that red F written down on his car. Just needs to win. But he's had some trouble getting those points to get up to finalists, so who knows if he was just sandbagging a little bit, or, you know, now's the time to really step on it.
So we're gonna be playing till 4 winners here. So we're gonna be playing till 4 people gets the finalist status. It's gonna be the match end basically. So Tefts currently in a very solid position to be the first player to secure a spot in the final 8. And at the moment, Brinken and Kiro very close on trying to stop him.
Oh, he's
Currently,
keeping it clean.
it's very close though. Kiro solid inside land, doesn't have that much speed, but it's gonna be Kiro still denying.
Wow, the snipe, that was beautiful, especially from Hill's perspective, that we got to see absolutely everything. Tef's not quite able to close it out. Brinken will be able to catch up just a little bit, but still has more than one round before he can get finalist of his own. But I mean, they're going to have to play spoiler for quite a while longer if they want to avoid Tefts getting that first place spot immediately up in first place as well. So he's really starting to step it up now that his name tag is in red. Bit of an awkward start for Sinks there, but no one's so far out of it that they're completely out of the question for winning this round. Kiro and Hill fighting for that first place spot. Tefts not too far behind, currently fighting for second. Kiro keeping it clean. I think that was Tefts who just crashed out.
Yep.
Yeah, sure enough. So that's going to be another round of them not closing it out in first place quite yet. Brinken, however, very far behind as well, so he's not going to get anywhere close to the finalist quite yet.
Kiro on a solid pace actually. Oh, never mind.
Was
Just a run for everyone else wasn't that fast, yeah. Looked like with the lead that he had.
Yeah.
Thought it was some decent pace, like a 0.1 or something, but yeah, it didn't end up too much.
Well, with the finalist out of the picture, you can...
I mean, Brinken now is just one round win away. Kiro needs a top 4. So Kiro needs a top 4. Brinken needs a win. And everyone else just needs to get as much points as they can, basically.
Yeah, and actually, because Kiro has gotten first place, I believe the last 2 rounds, one of which denying Tefts from closing it out, they did jump up to second place. Brinken a little bit in the mud, but not this round. They're doing pretty well so far. They're fighting with Feed for that first place spot, who he himself is, you know, okay. Well, Brinken hits the wall, so he's out of it. There was a brief glimmer of hope there. But Feed and Kiro fighting for that first place spot. Kiro again gets the first place snipe from Feed and Tefts, about a quarter second behind them. But Kiro now finalist of his own. I believe that was the last round of this map, however, so no more miracles can happen on Arethel. It's going to be going back to Blue Blaze, where they can just risk as their heart's content.
Yeah, double finalists now. Yeah, Brinken is third right now, but there's still a noticeable gap between the rest. Feed is kind of close, but then there's like almost 18 points, basically, between Feed and Hill. So we'll see if there's going to be a closeout, when it will give a bit more room for the bigger points then.
Sure.
Especially as Tefts, who is always the faster one. Maybe he will keep getting denied that as well. This thing that can happen, but we'll have to see what will happen. This was one of the maps that we have seen the closest rounds. So I feel like the biggest mishmash of positions can definitely will be happening here.
A lot of potential for more snipes. It's really just going to be on these finalists to get the better exit speed. And just speed in general is what this map comes down to, because It's one of the simpler maps, but it's also one of the riskier maps as a result, because everyone's just driving as fast as they possibly can, so it's almost not worth anything to say that Tefs is currently in first place, because everyone else is almost within 1/10 of that position. I saw someone get a very wide line there, so they're going to fall further back. We'll see them in the splits coming up. And yeah, that was Hand.
No, it was Hill. He actually got enough speed from the moment. Oh, Brinken.
Yeah, that's probably going to
Early
be that.
touch. Tefs might get it. Oh, very, very close. Oh my
Feed.
goodness.
No.
Feed
No.
sniped him because he was a tiny bit ahead in the last checkpoint. That is crazy. A Tides finalist deny.
Wow.
I think I have never seen that, honestly.
That is
Getting denied?
ridiculous.
Finalist with a draw. I think I have never seen that, honestly.
Well, Tefs is going to have to retrieve his heart from his throat and regain a little bit of composure, because that was a ridiculous round. Someone hit the wall there. I'm not sure who. That was Mole, I believe. So it's really up to Kiro now in first place spot. Tefs still in the fray of things, and Brinken keeping it clean, so he might be able to secure a finalist. It'd be funny if we get like a triple or quadruple finalist. Looks like Feed looking for yet another snipe, but Kiro wants the first place, will not Hand with 2 milliseconds, 2 thousandths of a second.
It was such a stacked end, like I don't know who it was, but someone jumped from, I believe it was Hill, who jumped from 4th to 5th or something like that, and just wanted to squeeze into the pack. One small update from the other server: Belingo or Lingo is the first person who we have in the final already.
Oh,
And we have 3 more slots left. 4 more slots. We have 3 people in finalists on this server, so we'll have to see what happens, at least on this server. Will Tefs be the first person finally be able to close out the finalists? This is a good setup. Same for Feed as well. Well, Feed gets such a better line. He got so much more grip from that part. And Tefs has more speed though.
Wow.
4,000. And Feed does get the slot in the final. Denies Tefs again.
This poor man has been on finalists for what, like 6-7 rounds now, just has not had a good time. Unbelievable.
I mean, he was doing decent pace. Like the main thing, he was just always consistent and continuing his pace the way how he did the full match. It's just the fact he was always like second, third, and sometimes first. So it's very, very hard for him to, get going. Also, Feed has figured out the map slowly.
Yeah.
So that was also the main thing that allowed him to get through this, match.
We have both finalists fighting for that first place spot, as well as Brinken and Hand up there. And pretty much everyone besides Sinks is up there somewhere. Sinks hit the wall very early on. Tefs just a little bit behind Brinken right now, but Brinken, I think, hits the inside wall. Is going to be able to snipe it away. Hand!
Nah, again. 2 rounds in a row.
He's not even driving
this guy
slow.
Can get sniped?
He's not even driving slow. Everyone's just like pulling it into overdrive, hitting the Fast and the Furious-esque knocks on their car, hitting the speed boost, and you gotta feel for him because he's driving good. Everyone's just driving faster, just a little bit. Oh no.
Small update on the other server, a Wardrobe has secured a position into the final as well from the other server. So from the other server, out of the 6 players, set of Historis, Razi, Letzer, Rump, and Laser, they just have 2 players making it. But yeah, in this server, Tefs is like stuck for almost full map rotation.
Actually, yeah.
Finalist mode.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't know. And someone even pointed out in chat, he's gotten sniped by 4 thousandths, 3 thousandths, and then a draw by Feed.
On the same map.
Unbelievable, but he was pretty consistent here on Bomer, so this is a really good chance. Notably, Kiro is also in finalists, so we have yet another triple finalist position. Brinken up in the lead right now, but Tefs definitely fighting for that first place spot, definitely not out of it, and currently in first place. There is the opportunity for snipes, but maybe he'll finally get out of the finalist curse.
I mean, Brinken out of it. Hero DNF'd, who is also in the finalist. So he's the only contender, only Hill standing in his way, as Hans is 0.4 behind.
Can he keep
Trying to
it
get
straight?
closer, and this should be free unless he does a full mess up for the end.
It should
Okay,
be free.
it's fine.
He's finally
He
free. He's free of finalist. He is going to be the second person from this lobby to make it. I'm sure he can breathe a sigh of relief and go get some plywood to patch up the holes in his desk. But, you know, it's fine. He made it. And now we do have the opportunity for 2 more people to make it in. We do, of course, have 2 finalists currently. Hill, 1 round victory away from getting finalists yet again. It'd be funny. I'm not gonna lie to you. It'd be funny if we got another triple finalist position in these rounds, but I don't know if we're gonna get so lucky.
Generally, the way how Tefs got sniped, it's actually ridiculous. I think I could never seen that, honestly. 3 rounds in a row. He gets sniped by a draw, sniped by 3000s, and sniped by 4000s. It's generally ridiculous.
I think it was by a different person every single time. I'd have to go back and check, but it might have been by a different person every single time. So they're just taking turns bullying Tefs, but he's finally out of it and he can just watch. Notably, though, both finalists here, Brinken and Kiro, are up in that first, second place spot, trading blows right on top of each other. Hill looking to get into the fray as well. He definitely wants the victory so he can claim finalist for himself. Not quite. And
Oh, that ending though.
Brinken will be the 3rd person to make it. Hill just 2 points away from finalist. That's gotta sting just a little bit. But
I mean, he still got the 8 points though.
Yeah.
Because yeah, but he needs to deny Kiro now. So Brinken makes it through. Just 1 more slot left. So we have Kiro, Hill, Mole, Sings, and Hand. Only 1 slot left from this match. Kiro actually had a very crazy risky end where he set himself up too much to the left, so gets an earlier finish. So that's why he got the 8 points instead of 6. But we'll have to see. Hill doesn't have the best of starts. His points almost 0.3 behind first, which is Kiro, who needs to secure first place to secure himself into the final. Mole is the closest player, but 0.14 gap.
Kiro just needs to keep the pressure under check, just play it clean, but sometimes it was the hardest rounds to play clean. Doing well enough so far. I don't think Mole's really catching up all that much. Just needs to keep the finish nice and clean. Not too risky, and it seems like he'll be good enough. He's going to be the 4th person. So those are our 4 people from this lobby. Is the other lobby finished, or are we going to be able to...
No. We can jump to that. So
right,
we have from this server, we have Feed, Tefs, Brinken, and Kiro. Actually perfectly from each country. So we have all 4... We had like 2 French, 2 Norway, 2 Sweden, and 2 Czech.
I think it just ended because the play icon, the play
No.
no.
They still have going on. It's fine.
Oh, they still?
Yeah.
I can't join.
Are they pro players? Today we have... Yeah, it depends on what you would define as pro. But there is a Feed who plays in TMCL. There's a lot of people right here who are like top 16 in EU regionals. So there's a lot of like the top ends, maybe not TMGL players we don't have today, but there are some very, very solid players still playing today. Oh, I know why. We'll soon let you in the server. 1 second.
The play button
I know why. Yeah, I know why. They were a bit too late, so refresh to check it now, so you'll be able to see it.
Refresh, there we are. Let's see if we can catch a little bit more.
So, for example, on this server, we have Belingo, who once won an NCSA regional, Wardrow, who was a top 16 EU player. Razi, who was also top 4 in the regionals. And Letzer, who was a substitute for Schweinheim Racing. So there are some... basically, everyone has a lot of competitive experience behind them that we see in the top 16 here. So it's all on pace and consistency right here. So if you have not played in these events, I highly suggest just signing up for next week's as well. It will be played after the second rerun. So it will be the same 3 maps, so you can prepare the maps a bit more. Top hundreds get to play in the rounds mode. From rounds mode, then it moves on to the cup mode, then everything like that. Yeah, Razi was a player that we see who did just make it out. Was a top 4 player in the Trackmania Challenger League when it was in solos. So he was a top 20 player at his peak in the game. But we'll see how it will go. Razi was, I believe, was top 4 in the FastPoint International as well last year. So definitely as a player with a lot of competitive experience. I believe he will be playing the last chance qualifiers in the World Championship this year as well. If I heard the rumor is true that he might be playing with Evan or something like that.
Well, this room is extremely close. We have the double finalists between Laser and Letzer, of course, but looking at the other 3 players, they're one good round away from finalists themselves. It'd be funny if we had a quintuple finalist, but I don't know if we're going to be so lucky as to get that. Seraph up in the lead for the time being. Round win here, really just a round finish, would allow him to get up to a finalist of his own. Letzer not too far behind. You can see him creeping up, but I don't know if he quite has the speed. Will he have the angle here? Not quite. Seraph misses! No! Oh,
no shots.
You know, I mentioned that briefly in the time attack. I wasn't expecting anyone this far into the tournament to actually fly out like that, though. What an unbelievable finish there. Letzer will be the 8th player that we saw. We had
that
the
is
other
so
4.
unfortunate, though.
All right. Well, I guess it's just going to take a couple of moments to get the final lobby set up then.
Yeah, that is crazy. Oh, that's honestly hurts. Because he missed the end and Letzer got the finalist spot instead. Yeah, that's genuinely unfortunate.
Oh dear, that's tragic.
Yeah, but anyway, we're gonna go on a very short break of like 1 or 2 minutes, and we're gonna be back with the final 8. So in the final 8, we will have. So if you're from Americas, you're gonna be very, very proud. I feel like, because we have Lingo, Brinken, Letzer, Tefs, Speed, Kiro, Vardro, and Vazi. So we have a top 4 EU regionals player, top 8 regionals player, very consistent top COTD players, a Lingo playing as well, a Brinken, Letzer, very solid tech player. So we have a very diverse seed of players in the final. So those are going to be the players we'll have in the final. So we'll have a smart break and see you then.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for holding on that short break. We are back. All the players are in the lobby. And now it's for all the marbles. The $25 prize pool plus a rather large portion of FPI points, which is really what they're fighting for here.
I mean, the 25 is a bonus.
Yeah.
So.
I guess
the main thing is just for main idea of these tournaments is so players who are not that familiar with the competitive scene gets a chance to, get the competitive experience with some more skill level players and get some competitive experience, a bit of recognition as well. And this main thing is just have fun and try to improve themselves as a player, which is one of the main ideas of these events. And yeah, there is a bit of a prize money, as mentioned, 25 for the winner, but top 20 will get the FastPoint International Circuit points. So the way how it works, there are 2 events during August, and the best performance from each player during the month of August will count towards the standings. So let's say if they just get 1 or none points from this event, and they get way more in the second event, then the second event's points will count. So that's the way how that will be done. And basically top 12 players from the FPI points of the year will then be invited to the FastPoint International, which at least last year was literally one of the deciding teams for some people who plays in TMGL and who not. So so that was generally a determining factor for some players like that. And it also was an important factor for the official competitive circuit as well afterwards. So definitely getting into then the FastPoint International at the end of the year is going to be a bit important, not only a bit financially or showcasing yourself as a player, but can potentially impact your local scene as well. So that's going to be one of the things we'll look at. Anyway, we have the final today. It's going to be the same format as it was previously. We're going to be playing till 120 points, cup mode format. We're going to be playing till 4 winners. The partition is the same, maps are the same 3 that we saw previously. And winner will get 25, but the second, third, and fourth is going to be played out as well as a part of it tournament experience, and as well to decide who will get the FastPoint points on top of that. So we have today Razi, who was previously a TMCL player as well. Feed, who currently is a TMCL player. I also will be playing in the World Championship wildcards. We had Kiro from Czechia, from Team Bombo. Tefs from Team Hot. We don't really see Tefs that much in many of the there's a mixed style tournaments. Belingo, a lot more known for Kappa days and just say putting himself out there. Letzer, who was a sub for Schweinheim Racing during All-Star Championship. And Brinken, a bit of a here and there player, but it's very nice to see showcase himself in this match today. And Wardrow as well, let's not forget.
Technically, he has the world record on all of the maps, as far as I'm aware, unless something's
yeah, Wardrow that is. Yeah.
Yep. But not doing too hot that round. He gets last place, bonks the very end there, as you saw from his perspective. Lingo actually takes first place in that round, but it's the very first round, so nothing.
Yeah, which is the fastest time we have seen on this map today. So it's a solid time on top of that in that round. But the main reason is, as we see, these are the 8 best players we have today, and not only pace is important, but consistency is as well. So if you just get one decent round in, it might not be enough. As Rossi and Tefs especially had so much consistency early on, but yeah, definitely not having the best of starts in this final so far.
Yeah, well, it can be difficult when the pressure is put on. As they go further into this tournament, the players are obviously much better, so you have to drive consistently, but also much faster if you want to get more points. And Wardrop trying to make up for last round where he bonked right there, doesn't make the same mistake this time around, gets into the finish cleanly enough, another 50.2. It's pretty consistently the winning time, around like 50.2, 50.3. He's going to immediately jump up towards the top couple spots. You see like a four-way tie for 4th place.
Press stab, yeah. 4 11s so far. But yeah, this is only the second round, so we have a lot of match to be played. So definitely, if you get like consistent first place finishes, it will start to create a quite noticeable points lead, especially when players will start to enter the finalist phase of the event, or of the match, more like it. So that will be the most key part where they want to have this lead being ranked up from the match, so they have way more opportunities and a bit less pressure on closing out their finalists, because you definitely don't want to play against other people who are also in finalist status at the same time.
Right now we have 4 cars right on top of each other, battling it out for that first place spot in the round. Wardrop just a little bit behind, not going to be able to snipe anything out. It looks like Feed is going to be up in the lead, sure enough, 50.2 yet again. And it's tied, but Feed had a better time in the previous checkpoint. It's not by names in this situation, thankfully.
4 ties today alone. It's actually ridiculous.
It's not common.
I mean, the maps are on the simpler ends, so it does increase the odds for that, but they're still quite on the technical end, so I was not expecting that we will get such generally that often draws. So that's one of the main reasons why there are way more difficult maps in tournaments, of course, just to create more gaps in skill levels. I mean, this isn't the easiest map in the world per se, but because it was aimed to have like a track of the day difficulty, like.
Yeah.
But having 3 maps like that, and still, yeah, of course, and but still having a solid pace on these kind of maps is not the easiest thing to do in the world. So, but there's a very solid round overall. Rossi is the only one with 0.3 behind, and he's at the bottom of the field. Oh, Bilingo crashed out, and it looks like it's gonna be Kiro taking the first win. Very solid round up top, honestly. And Kiro is going to take the 10-pointer, and that's much needed for him, as he was in the 6th place so far. Same with Wardrow. Wardrow does have all world records so far, but his consistency definitely has been lacking so far in the tournament.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to put up those insane times. I mean, like, we see how rare it is for people to even put up a 50.1 on that map, and his world record's a 49.9. We haven't seen any 49s aside from his one in the leaderboard. Bomer, a little bit of a different map compared to the previous one, much more of like a traditional technical mixed tech style. More transitions that you can mess up, get the wrong line, and you lose a lot of speed. And of course the ending has some shenanigans happening there, depending on how risky you want to take it.
One interesting thing to note about one thing in the starts, if you take way too much inside of a line, you do not get enough steering for the first drift to initiate a normal drift. So we might see sometimes people getting a no slide at the very start. That means they don't get enough steering because there's way too inside. Yeah, it's one player.
I think Rossi just did that, yeah.
Yeah, Rossi, yeah. So that's one of the keys if we see players like having early mess-ups on this map. That's one of the main reasons. They just try to risk too much from the inside. They don't get enough steering to initiate the drift criteria, and they basically don't make it. Letzer having a bit of a mistake early on, so it's a quite tight fight for the top 6, as all of the top, 6 is between 1/10 right now.
It's really going to matter as we get closer to the finish, because you want to maintain as much speed as possible. Take it a little bit further inside, closer to the wall. It looks like Feed is up in the lead. Wardrop right behind him. And will be Feed taking away the 10 points. Getting a little bit further.
Lingo messed up the very, very end, so he had to fully respawn. And there was a bit of fiesta at the end, but a 0.2, pretty solid time from Feed, and starts to actually rank up a bit of a lead. So the boy has learned the maps a bit. Yeah.
54 points, so that's like 200ths away from world record, by the way. It's 54.18. His world record on this by Wardrop. That's like the one thing we're missing right now, someone pulling a world record out in rounds, but
honestly, I think it could happen, honestly.
It could, but I'm not going to hold my breath for it, because these world records are kind of cooked. Either way, everyone keeping it relatively clean. Even Razi hasn't had the best of time on this map so far, but not too far behind this time around. Wardrop up in the lead. Looks like Tef's trying to challenge for that 2nd place spot. So is everyone else, apparently. They're right on top of each other. Everyone keeping it clean through the plastic section into this final drift. There's a lot of risking that you can do, but how much should you do? Looks like Wardrop keeps it clean all the way through 54.3. That's not quite as fast as Feed's, but it doesn't have to be. Feed was down in about a second behind, might have crashed the ending there.
Yeah, he clipped a bit at the very, very end. And yeah, I would say that Rossi is definitely having a very underwhelming match. He always had an early mistake, always is around like 0.8 or a second behind. It's like we have an early mistake as well. From Feed. So current one of the front runners of the finals so far. Their early mistake. Rossi once again at the bottom.
A little bit in the mud there, Rossi, and their points definitely reflect it, whereas everyone else in the middle of the standings quite a bit further ahead. Wardrov staying up in the lead right now, but Feed's right behind him in terms of points. Brinken's actually in the lead in terms of this round, and Lingo looking to maybe steal some away. Not quite able to fully break away from the pack, and Lingo goes face first into an obstacle. Tefs crashes out as well. Lingo has to respawn. It's going to be Wardrov with a 54.4, and just think, I mean, Lingo is probably a tenth ahead of that.
Rossi missed the end.
Oh no. They give up.
Well, one thing to mention here is all of these
no.
mistakes that come from, like, the pace is higher, but there's way more mistakes because everyone's risking so much more. Because everyone sees, because it's so close. Like, we see right now, like, some of the rounds previously, like, 0.1, and it's either difference between first and, like, sixth or fifth or whatever. So you have to risk everywhere. So everyone's, like, full risking, and yeah, Rossi not having definitely a good match.
Nah, they didn't even get points for the previous round, mind you, so they're stuck at 12 right now. Feed has a pretty bad clip there towards the beginning, so even Rossi manages to overtake Lingo up in the lead for the time being, but as you can see from the splits, everyone else is like within a tenth of each other in the top 5 at the very least. Tef's not too far behind, but trailing in that 6th place spot, which I didn't even say it that much, because again, everyone's right next to each other.
Yeah, Lingo leading. Last rounds he didn't have that great of a track record by hitting that pole. So far he's in the part 8. No way, really.
The exact same pole too.
Lester clipped as well.
Lingo falls down to 8th place. Rossi did manage to hit the finish that time, and in the correct way hit the finish. So they will get points, but not a ton. Lingo a little bit in the mud. But
that's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I would almost bet that Lingo's going to go much wider, well, the next time we hit that map, which probably will, because there's only 4 rounds per map, so who knows.
Alright, this map we have seen the closest rounds so far. And we'll see what happens this time around. We saw poor Tips getting sniped by points with the tie time, then with the 2000s, and then with 4000s.
So yeah, okay, that's loud.
Definitely there's gonna be, very close runs happening here, so I'm very curious what will be the peak pace here done as well, so.
Lingo actually pops by in Switch chat to say he's shaking. I'm not sure whether that's laughing or annoyed. Probably a little bit of both. Just gotta hold it together. But yeah, this map in particular, Blue Blaze, very pace-based. I love watching the rounds on this, especially at this high level. All of these players can push each other to the absolute limit, and we get these like insane rounds with just milliseconds separating like the top 4. It's so much fun to watch these snipes. I'm sure it's a little bit terrifying for the players because they have no idea what's going to happen until the final splits are shown. Feed hits the wall though, so he's probably not going to be up in
Lingo
those top
as
spots.
well. Lingo as well having a small bump, but he does have a small recovery. Okay, never mind, he touched once again, so he even gets overtaken by Feeds. Wardrow with the most world records. Currently leading, and that might be, 0.0. Not the closest round we have seen on this map. We have definitely seen way closer rounds, but this was the only first one, and a 0.0 already.
Yeah.
In one of the semifinals, at least I remember the one that we watched, the fastest time was a 0.1. So Wardrow's time already beats the semifinals fastest time that was done already.
Still a little bit of ways from his own world record, but again, we're not really expecting to see that in rounds. It'd be nice if it happened, but I wouldn't expect that. They get a safe to some degree. They can't just like Hail Mary it 24/7. Lingo up in the lead, probably looking for a little bit of redemption after a rough couple of rounds. It's definitely a bit further behind in terms of points. Well, 7th place in terms of points. Keeping it clean so far. Tef's also fighting. I say that and crashes almost immediately. You just gotta do something to deal with the cast of curse on your own. I can't control it. Wardrov up in the lead.
Ooh.
Lingo not quite able to snipe it away, but a 37 flat. It's pretty darn good time.
Oh, but it sucks for Feed, because he had a bit adjusted line at the end, and he dropped from like 3rd to like 6th in the very last turn. So he had the biggest drop in terms of positions at the end, which was a bit unfortunate. But everyone else managed to keep their positions somewhat. Yeah, that's Feed unfortunate adjustment. Because in this map right now, since it's not that hard, and most of the players here are actually with a bit of a tech background, actually. Like Tef's, Feed, Letzer, Hero. All of them are with a tech background, so you definitely see some very close rounds. Actually, Letzer, one of the players I really want to point out from this tournament today. Like, having very solid performance here and there, but so many people have been just playing good today, so... But he definitely was the spotlight this time, and does a 37.01. And takes a 10-pointer for him, and that's actually puts him into 2nd place for it.
Looking pretty good. Wardrov definitely kicking it into overdrive in this finals. Sometimes felt a little bit slower in previous stages of this tournament, but right now it definitely feels like it's go time, because he's starting to get quite a good gap between him and now Letzer with, I mean, over 20 points. This is what, 25 points? Yeah. That's like quite a few rounds before he gives up that 1st place spot. Let's see, Lingo touches the wall there, so he falls further behind. Battle for 1st place. A little bit further behind Kiro, who is, I think, on a very fast run. It looks like it compared to everyone else. Misses the finish! No. He cooked a little bit too hard. If he could have made it in, though, you have to wonder what it would have been, because he looked maybe 2/10 ahead of the person who got 1st, and they got a 37.1, so maybe that could have been a 36.9. Who knows, man, but...
That sucks so bad for Kiro.
You can't get redemption either, because we move on to the next map, so you just gotta live with that fact.
I mean, he was so far ahead as well. He was not only leading the round, but he was in a solid time as well.
That
and
possibly could have been world record pace, or very close to it.
It was a solid time, at least looked like it. But yeah, he lost 9 points in that round in the last by just trying to over-risk too much. But it makes sense. Like, you have no idea, you just see a number 1 in car. Like, from our spectating POV, it's like, oh, it looks like a gap, you know?
Yeah.
And well, Feed having a very weird start. But yeah, anyway, bets. Lingo is... What is Lingo doing?
He kind of hit
for a bit of a detour.
The wrong line on the sausage block, gets a little bit too much airtime. Well, no, Air Canada, I suppose. So, not much you can do there. Rozzy, though, looking pretty good this round. Thus far, Brinken trying to catch up. Not quite there yet. I think that's Wardrov. Yep, slowly creeping his way up there. You can see Lingo on the other side of the track, still in the mud a bit. Brinken, not the best angle in the no steer section, so it's really just between Rozzy and Wardrov, see who can get the better line. I think Wardrov has more speed, just barely ahead. We'll keep it by just about a 10th. 50.3, that is pretty darn fast, in all honesty.
I'll be honest, this was the worst round of the final so far.
Yeah, when you look at how close it was, aside from 1 and 2, it wasn't that close.
But yeah, everyone's just full sending like crazy, so that's why the mistakes pop up. And it's just 1 or 2 people just survive in the end, at least in this round. But we saw some other rounds. If you don't risk it, like you do 1 or 2 releases or like saved turns, and you're like second last. So You have to
Yeah.
do it.
It's just the level that these players are at, right? You just need to be prepared to risk it all at any point in time because everyone's gonna be faster than you. It's kind of like a mini version of what you see in TMGL and TMCL, which I'm sure Feed is very familiar with. Speaking of which, he's currently in the lead, fighting it out with Letzer. Managing to keep it clean so far. Not too many mistakes have been made in the nose tier. Feed a little bit close. Oh wow, Letzer took a very inside approach to the dirt there. In the lead right now, but Feed has much more speed. Will he be able to snipe? I think he will. 13 thousandths of a second, 50.22. That's scary fast. Mind you, as far as I'm aware, Wardrov is the only person in the world with a 49, so anything low 50s, terrifyingly fast.
I mean, Feed did in the semifinals, the .1 as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Belingo or Lingo, like he keeps changing the names all the time, so it's very...
It's once a month. You get pretty much, yeah. A couple weeks ago he was Bingo, now he's Belingo. I'm sure it just cycles through.
The first time when I saw him was when he used the words Belingo when he was playing for Team Eden in TM2 days. So that was, it's like, for me, originally, it's just Belingo for me.
Well, he's keeping it clean so far, so something he's much needed because he is currently in last place in terms of points, but he's not too far behind 7th and 6th place. Keeps it clean through the nose tier, has a good line into the dirt as well. Just don't touch the outside wall. He doesn't. He's on a pretty fast run right now. Looking at the splits, probably not world record, but that's
solid,
fast.
solid.
That is very fast.
Solid run from everyone else as well. Points, yeah, very small gap between 2nd and 6th as well, but very much needed points for Lingo. Even in Vortex Razi closes the gap between Tefs. Tefs has been was a player who was looking very good in the rounds and in the semis, but right now, as he's put with only the best players, is not that big of a standout anymore, because he just tries to maintain his consistency, and it's always in the middle. It's not up there, it's not down there, it's like somewhere in the middle always.
Yeah, except I think, the final round of the tournament, you're going to have players who are just gonna be able to risk it so hard that it's just gonna outperform his consistency. Like he's gonna have a decent amount of points still, but he's gonna have to kick it into gear a little bit further, Right now you have Brinken up in the lead, and basically everyone else besides Wardrov and Feed right next to him. So it's anyone's game right now. Whoever can get the best speed out of this turn pretty much takes it. Letzer might be able to, but no, it looks like Brinken keeps the lead. 50.2. This seems to be a pretty consistent winning time here on this map.
Yeah, and that actually starts to reduce the gap, since both Wardrobe and Feed got bottom 2. It a bit squishes the gap between the top 2 players and the rest with that round performance. And as the bottom players work somewhere in the middle, so the top and the bottom is a bit squished together a bit now with that. However, there's a bit of a gap starting to form between the top 4 and bottom 4. Lingo's playstyle right now, like having this full sense or just full outs kind of approach, sometimes is working out for him when he does score the 10-pointers or 8-pointers or whatever, and just tossing next 2 rounds basically. It's a very interesting approach to the match, but yeah, in this kind of way, you kind of have to be a bit more consistent than that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that did work for him very well in the Pan American a couple of weeks ago, but he also had a very strong start and got 30 points up, and then started to slow down, but by then it was too much. Whereas in this case, he started kind of in the mud and had to force himself out of it, which, you gotta play it a little bit safer and just claw your way up, maybe without going for a world record every single time. Seems like a rather close round, minus Lingo, who crashed. Everyone else within 1 or 2 tenths of each other. Right now, Brinken up in the lead and looking to kind of get closer to that upper echelon of the leaderboards. Letzer, Wardrov, Kiro, all very close as well. Coming into the exit here, into the risky finish. We'll keep it clean enough. That's a pretty darn fast time, 54.3. That's only a couple tenths away from world record. That's pretty darn fast, and that's going to be a much needed 10 points for Brinken.
Yeah, especially as see with that, he goes with the tied second and third place. So a bit of confidence, especially as Wardrow is just Wardrow just needs to finish a round, and
just finish.
He enters finalist. So, but everyone else is still trying to collect the points. Wardrow definitely has gotten a massive lead with his performance.
Oh, definitely.
Having very consistent top threes this time around in most rounds, and if he just finishes this off, there's definitely going to be a lot of room for him to potentially close out the finalist and win the first event.
Definitely. As much as we talk about, oh, he has all 3 world records as far as I'm aware. I saw someone in chat say someone beat one of his world records, but that's neither here nor there. Didn't happen in live rounds, we don't care yet. But the fact of the matter is that he got those records means that he knows these maps really well. He's going to be a rather strong player. And speaking of strong, Letzer, with a really nice time there, 54.4. Feed only 13 thousandths behind. Feed's also looking to crawl his way back up towards that upper portion of the leaderboard. Wardrow, sure enough, got the 1 point he needed. The other 2 are just denying other players from getting them, I guess. And he's already finalist. No one else is particularly close. I guess Letzer and Brinken are kind of close.
Brinken gets the nose line, a bit too much inside. Wardrow potentially on closing it out. But there's a whole pack trying to deny him the win of this event.
Do have him fall a little bit further back, so Wardrow's going to have to look for some more speed as we get further into the map. But it looks like Tefs and Kiro holding the lead for the time being. Feed actually coming up, and Wardrow coming up with a lot of speed, so I think they want that first place spot. It's their turn. Wardrow just wants to be done with this. He's been leading for so long. He's just like, okay, let's end this right now. Doesn't quite have the speed to catch up, however, so I think he's going to be stuck in like a 3rd or 4th place spot. 3rd place, about a 10th behind. And Tefs gets a much needed 10 points.
I mean, he still, still, even if he doesn't get the finalist, he still denies the points from others to give himself a bit more room and space. So the fact that Tefs actually got the bigger points is a good thing for Wardrow, because the players who are in 2nd and 4th, even if they win, Wardrow still stays in finalist. So
yeah, pretty much. We now have 3 players up in that 100-point spot, but like SRK just said, none of them can get finalists this round, and that's rather crucial because Wardrow doesn't want to have a double finalist situation. He wants to get out before someone else gets finalist, and they can just sit on the sidelines and enjoy the show without having to worry too much about it. Lingo, however, is fighting for that first place spot. Brinken getting dangerously close to his tires, but not quite able to overtake just yet. Wardrow a couple tenths behind the leaders of the pack here, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to close it out right now either. Brinken keeping it rather consistent up in the lead. Feed will touch the pole. Wardrow comes out of nowhere with a lot of speed, but I think he's going to be stuck with yet another 3rd place. Yeah, just barely. And Lingo 3 milliseconds behind the 10 points he so desperately wanted. Brinken now just needs 7 points, so he needs, 2nd place or above to get finalist this upcoming round.
yeah, but now Brinken, Letzer are potentially rounds away from entering finalists themselves. So Wardrow have a lot more. I mean, this is one of the rounds where he has still more opportunities to potentially close it out before others becoming a more direct of a threat. If you look at the total leaderboard, Wardrow is still finalist. Brinken needs a top 2. Letzer needs a round win, and Feeds is basically a round win or in a top 2 that he's missing, and everyone else is just quite a bit of points down the list.
And I would like to make a correction from chat. Wardrow is very much not getting the Tef's treatment yet. He needs to be denied and sniped multiple times by just a few thousandths in order to get that treatment. That he has suffered a fraction of what Tef's did in the previous round. Not quite there yet. He is not that far in the mud. Although this is the map to do it, if any.
I mean, this is the closest map. This is the easiest map in the pool as well. You can see some early players dropping off. Feeds.
All wardrobe.
Early mistake and wardrobe as well. So
He's
this
pretty
is a
much
great
out of it.
opportunity for everyone else now to close out the points, get the points as much as they can, as wardrobe is out of this round. And wardrobe's probably main goal here is just try to wait for other people's mistakes and try to deny some points as much as he can. But looks like at the top, it's gonna be a 3-way fight, and it's gonna be Lingo getting the 10-pointer. With the 0.0, Letzer and Tess very, very close, same with Kiro. And we don't have another finalist just yet, so Wardrobe is
Letzer.
kinda safe, but Letzer is just 1 point missing. So Letzer just needs to finish this round and he will be entering finalists. Brinken needs at least a top 6. And Feed as well is now in triple digits.
But a few players getting further up there. It's really just Razi who's very far out away from the triple digits. Lingo just needs a round or two. Oh, maybe more than that if he gets further down. I think Wardrop just crashed, didn't he? No, he's still in it. Okay. No, that was Lingo who DNF'd. Okay.
Yes.
That's unfortunate there. Wardrop gets a lot of speed on the exit. Will he be able to keep it in this final turn? I don't think so. It's going to be Brinken stealing away that snipe. Less than a 10th in the top 4 and 5th place. Not too much further than a 10th away. So it's getting dangerously close. We do have now a triple finalist position, though. And all 3 of these finalists have looked really good on this map. So anyone can take away the first place spot.
Yeah, so Warsaw definitely no needs to, because everyone has caught up. So the main threat has, came to his side now. Tefs is out of it. We have 3 entire finalists. Lingo is leading. Wardrobe is second, Letzer is third. Either Wardrobe gets the win, or Lingo gets the deny.
Wardrop has
Wardrobe
a lot of
is really
speed, but
pushing
Lingo keeps it steady.
with the 36.
Wow.
36-9, yeah, that's a solid pace there from Lingo. Gets the deny both from Wardrobe and Leicester. And with that, actually, they deny some points from rest of the players as well, so they don't get the big pointers on their end as well.
That is less than a 10th away from the world record, by the way. So that is a serious time from Lingo. That's the kind of thing you like to see from him. That's what the risking can pull off. I think someone clipped the ball back there.
That was
Ball
Feed.
behind. Yeah, I saw that in the corner of my eye. So Feed is very much not going to be getting the 10 points he needs to get to finalist as well. It would be funny to see a quadruple finalist, but I think the finalists we currently have would not be so pleased. Lingo in the lead yet again. I think he's starting to warm up a little bit, and Kiro also looking to possibly deny Brinken.
Very close, but 0.0 low as well. But now Kiro gets the points. It's still not in finalists, but now it's at 112 points. Feed as well not having the best of rounds. He is the 4th highest player, who is the closest, or the highest player without finalists yet, but not that big points. And now Kiro and Feed are close to tied. Lingo is well having solid rounds. Has caught up in triple digits as well now. But yeah, still 3 finalists. Wardrobe is starting to get, not really the Tef's treatment with a couple thousand denies, but starts to marinate a bit with a couple of rounds.
The pressure's only going to get
Opportunities
more.
wasted.
We're only playing to the top 4.
And so the way how this all works, the players with finalists need to win a round to secure a position. And playing out for the top 4, 120 points is the points limit. And we'll see how this goes. This has been one of the maps that Lingo was actually looking pretty pacey, but same as Feed. So this is a map is a great place for Feed to catch some points, but Letzer as well. One of the main people who we have been looking at Feed or Lingo or Warjo a bit more, but Letzer has been always in the top 3 range. Haven't gotten that many round wins, but this was his strongest map that we have seen so far.
Definitely.
So this is the best place for Letzer to potentially close it out here. But now we actually have Brinken now at the top. Same with Lingo, Feed. It's very, very close with the
Oh,
third to fifth
Letzer.
pack. Lingo still leading. Trying to deny because 2 finalists are just behind him. Brinken getting
also-
close, or gets a very risky end. Lingo still leading. But we have seen some changes happening at the end, and Brinken snipes it
Wow.
and wins it.
Wow.
Very unfortunate end from Bingo. Very solid wrist there from Brinken. He got full grip when in going up the pipe and got the most efficient end that secured him the win. And I believe Brinken was one of the people who was... He was a contender, but definitely was not expected for him to take the win.
That's tragic. I think someone just flew out. I'm not sure who that was. Yeah, that was Lingo because he DNF'd. Okay. Unfortunate there, but I mean, after the previous round, it might take another round to just cool off a little bit. So now down to double finalists. Feed, 2 points away from it. Kiro, 5. And then we have a few other people within, 10 to 12 points away from it. Feed currently up in the lead, battling it out with Letzer. He had an unfortunate drift last time around, but keeping it clean, up in the lead by about 1/10 of a second. Razi and Tef's not too far behind, but Letzer keeping it very clean. I think he has the speed, he has the angle, I think he should take it. Yep, he will be the second place position here for the FastPoint Monthly.
Yeah, for FastPoint August event number 1. Taking second place, Wardrobe is still stuck in finalists. He got finalists with such an early lead. Have had world records on every single map, and still sits in finalist as Brinken and Letzer have closed it out and secured first and second places already. And now Feed and Kiro have joined the finalist status as well. So we're playing for 2 more winners for third and fourth. So the positions in the order, in case there's a tie after the matches ends. So if the earlier the player has gotten the finalist, that will be used as the tiebreaker for the 5th to 8th positions. In case there are multiple finalists in the lower positions. Regarding the international points. Tef's currently leading. Trying to build up the lead. Trying to deny the points from everyone else. Especially as Kiro is very, very close. Lingo with another DNF, going for the full send, full risk mentality, and Kiro will be securing the 3rd place. Razi gets also plus 8 points right now, who's starting to catch up a bit. But yeah, Wardrobe feeds very, very close, but not enough, and we have just 1 more slot left for 4th place to close it out, and then it'll be done for today. Wardrobe is still in finalists, Feed as well, and Tefs as well. Lingo and Razi, the only ones without points.
Someone just flew out.
I think we know who that is already at this point.
I like to give the benefit of the doubt and wait until I see it for sure, but yeah, Lingo's just a little bit in the mud at this point. Not much he can do. I mean, triple finalist. Right now, Tef's up in the lead. Wardrobe not too far behind. It would be a little bit of a consolation prize to close it out. 4th place for Wardrobe. But he's going to have to fight for it because there's plenty of other people within just a couple hundreds of each other. Tef's, however, keeping it clean in the lead. Gets the outside dirt nice and easy.
Feed has good speeds.
Oh.
And it's gonna be... Tefs! Tefs will get to 4th place above Wardrobe and above Feed. Such a shame for Wardrobe, honestly, because he was looking as the fastest player and did not get to close it out. But yeah, congratulations to Brinken. Such a crazy upset in the final, and what a comeback as well. And got the win for his end. Like, definitely was not expected for him to honestly win this. And congratulations to Letzer in 2nd place, Kiro in 3rd, and Tefs in 4th. And shoutouts also to Razi, Wardrobe, and Feed, and Belingo, who were in the finals today. So in case you want to try these events out as well, next week, next Sunday at 13 EST, so that's basically as soon as COTD for second rerun for COTD ends, you can try yourself as well out. There's massive rounds brackets as well, so you can play and get some first competition experience. Top players get put in the cup mode brackets as well. You can earn points for the FastPoint International. It's going to be an event at the end of the year. And also, yeah, congratulations once again to Brinken from Sweden and Team Split for taking the first place. And a small bonus with 25 USD on the side and getting a decent chunk of FastPoint international points on his end as well.
Tefson Twitch chat saying he was tilted since the name diff. Well, it wasn't the name diff, but we can just call it that anyways. Either way, yep, thank you folks for tuning into the show. Thank you to the players for giving us a great show. There were some great moments here that we caught on camera. And anyways, SRK, do you have any final statements?
Yeah, thank you everyone for playing. Tomorrow we'll have the Middle East and Africa Trackmania Championship Finals, so definitely stay tuned in for that. And if you want to try out these once again, check out the Discord to see when there's going to be events coming up and everything like that. And make sure it would be awesome if you contribute something to the FastPoint International prize pool as well. The links for that can be found either in the chats or in the Discord as well. We're currently up to €155, I believe. And if you want to try yourself out, we'd love to see new faces, new players taking parts. And if you're interested in casting, hit me up in DMs as well. It's very nice to see more people getting involved or trying themselves in casting scene. So I don't have to be here. And also a bit of shame that we had to run with the backup regarding the podcast.
Technical difficulties, always the bane of esports production.
Yeah, happened, yeah.
Oh, well, we survived. We got the show going. There was only one latency spike randomly in the middle, but we survived that too. So, thank you all for tuning in. That's all we got for today. To be sure to follow the FastPoint channels and join the Discord, all that good stuff that SRK said before. That's all we've got. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.